Welcome to the Berks Homes podcast, The Business of Building Homes. I'm Katie. I'm here with my brother Ben, and today we will be talking about EOS. Ben, would you like to say what EOS stands for? Because it's very hard for me to say that first word sometimes.
Entrepreneurial Operating System.
Otherwise known as EOS.
Yes.
So that's what we are talking about when we keep saying EOS.
Now, if we had a quiz for the whole company, what do you think the percentage would be that would get that right?
Oh, it's a great question. Honestly, this has been interesting to me. I don't know who knows about EOS and who doesn't.
Is that why we're doing this?
That is exactly why we're doing this. We've been referring to it at our quarterly meetings. That's why we're having quarterly meetings now. It's part of EOS is getting that connection point and getting our company rocks out there and everything. But I'm hearing that not everybody knows what we're talking about.
Sure.
So we just want to kind of have a really high-level overview of what EOS is, why we're using it, and some of the terminology so people understand what we're talking about in the next podcast life that we have.
Makes sense.
Going forward. So we decided a few years ago that we needed to have one language, one kind of training program, one thing that our entire organization operates under so that we are all aligned and something that can be taught easily in any region, home office, department, whatever.
Scalable,
correct. And we went through a few iterations of different programs, like scaling up and just trying to do it on our own, make up our own kind of meeting rhythms and communication and metrics. You know, we had Berks stats, and we were trying very hard to apply the basic business principles that are in the big books like Good to Great.
Yeah.
Any of the Lencioni books, all of the things that people use to set up their businesses. Well, we stumbled upon EOS, which is that in a little book. Yeah.
I read Traction when it came out.
Yes. Why did you read that?
Because I heard it was really interesting, and it was kind of something that was being pushed, in my remodeling days, peer group that I was in, and at that time I was just not interested. Classic anti-authority syndrome. I don't need somebody to tell me how to do my stuff, but
we need somebody to tell us how to do our stuff.
Well, there's two reasons why I really like it.
Wait, can we first go back?
Yes.
Traction is the book that explains EOS.
Correct.
So it's the full book. It explains the whole principle, how you use it, all of the things. And then there's supplementary books and programs that you can do to deep dive into each one of those sections. A lot of people here may or may not have read What the Heck is EOS?
That's kind of like the
condensed,
simplified version.
Yes.
Yeah,
I completely derailed your thought. I'm so sorry. So reasons why you like it.
No, that's good. I mean, Traction was like what started it. The reason I wasn't interested in it was because I was told it was a great business book, and I didn't know that I was getting into like the actual nuts and bolts of meeting structure and stuff. So I was like, yeah.
Ain't got time for that.
For another day,
Yeah.
But looking back on it, I kind of remember thinking over and over, like, oh, that seems really smart. The reasons I like it are two. It's simple.
Yes.
Like, not simple, not like easy, but it's simple.
Like
it's
clear,
not
simple.
Complicated, right? And the book name Traction is really fitting.
Yes.
Because that's what it does. So when I say simple, I mean you can implement some of it for a little bit and get traction. It's not an all or nothing thing. You can
Good point.
At least, well, kind of like we did. You can at least implement a meeting rhythm and structure, and you'll be better off than you were yesterday. Right? That's the first thing I like about it. And the second thing is, as the organization gets bigger, it stays the same.
Yes.
So it's not like, oh, once you graduate to this level, you add another layer of complexity into the whole system.
Right.
It's like
6 parts for all time.
Right. And then if you're a crazy person, you can make it more complicated. But it's like, and I think it's kind of interesting that it is a wheel.
Yeah.
Because it's like you're just refining the same things over and over as you grow, but you're not adding a 7th or an 8th.
Yep.
You know, it's the reasons I like it. Because in order to, quote unquote, get traction, you need it to be able to be implemented, or you'll just get frustrated.
Yeah.
Especially in a company of our size.
Yes.
You just will get burnout, and there's no, it's a great word. It really is.
I have kind of the overview handout that we got when we first started looking at it. And there's 3 points. It's to get on the same page and crystallize your vision, gain more traction and execute on that vision, and become a more healthy and cohesive team. Again, the simplicity and logic is fantastic. Like, that's what we needed, what we wanted, and what we're just going to continue with.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I think the third component, and not every department in the company is going to be able to have a facilitator come to their meetings.
Yeah.
But at least from the executive team and then, you know, the regional teams, at least there's a structure there with a facilitator that's so critical.
Yeah.
In order for you to stay on track and go through the process step by step.
Yeah.
And, you know, then once you get to the 3rd or 4th time you're doing it, you know what to expect, and you
can train someone else then.
And then you see the value.
Yes.
So.
Okay, so quick overview of EOS. We could take 7 hours to do this, but we're just going to give the high level, just so, again, everybody knows what we're talking about when we use terminology. So there are 6 pieces to EOS that are people, vision, data, process, traction, and issues. And I started with people because that's where they start.
Yeah.
They start with the structure of your organization. So the tools that you can use under people are the accountability chart and the people analyzer, and the GWC tool, which is gets it once it has capacity. So you use those 3 tools, you lay out your structure, and you say, okay, this role is responsible to do these things. Do we have the right person in the right seat to do those things? If yes, do they get the job, want the job, and have the capacity to do it? And so that's it. That's that wheel in a nutshell.
That's people.
That's people. Vision. Now that is what we share at every quarterly meeting. It's the tool is a VTO, Vision Tracker.
Traction.
VTO.
Vision Traction Organizer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice, thank you. On the VTO are 8 questions, which includes core values, vision,
mission,
our 3 uniques, which is like our marketing stance,
right?
Which we have not spoken a lot about and haven't published a lot, and we're going to probably put out some more materials about that.
Yeah, it's education of that.
Yeah,
but you have to get to it first.
Right.
That's what it makes you define those things.
Yes.
We had some, and we didn't have some.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like we had to combine the things that we had with the things we had to come up with the things that we didn't have. It was a good exercise.
It really is, yeah. If we've got a documented process, how to purchase a home is basically the process.
Right.
And if we have a guaranteed promise that we stand behind, we would like to get that someday, but we don't have one yet.
Right.
Then the other pieces of the VTO are the 1 year,
the 3-year
goal,
yep.
3-year plan, 10-year
vision.
Yes. and then your issues list.
Right. And the cool thing is that since that's defined, the VTO are those 8 things.
Yeah.
Again, it's not 7, it's not 10, it's that.
Always 8.
So then you're just trained over time to know what to look for. I always kind of go to the end of it first, the 10-year.
Yeah.
And so you're every year during that 10 years, march, you're looking at it like, okay, yeah, we're still on track or we're not. And so then you can readjust the shorter term stuff.
Yes. And that's the key to understand about the 10-year is you start with your 10-year when you begin this, and that 10-year date stays the same until you hit it, and then you do a new 10-year goal.
Right.
So we are 2 years into the 10-year right now. So ours ends in 2032. Yeah. And again, as we're flying through this terminology, there's going to probably be a lot of questions from people.
Sure.
So just ask us. I'd talk about this all day. So don't get hung up on anything. You will be hearing about
There's
this.
no mastery.
Yeah.
I mean, that's another thing I like about it. You don't have to feel like you can't move on without totally mastering the concept.
You can do one thing in this and it's going to really be helpful.
Yeah, it's just reps.
Yeah.
Get your reps up.
Yeah. Okay, third section is data.
So you say data?
Sometimes I say data.
I think I say
know.
data.
All the time?
I think so, yeah.
I'm going to catch you.
Where'd you come from?
Great question. Data.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think that we say everything the same and you say data, and I don't know if I ever do.
Could we get a fact check here,
Data.
please?
Yeah.
Okay.
Have to ask our sisters.
Yep.
Anyway, scorecard and measurables. Now I'm wondering,
what's a measurable?
What's the difference? Okay, we could talk about the scorecard.
Yes.
I mean, we know that. Is that we have, correct me if I'm wrong, it's both lagging and leading indicators, or is it all leading?
So that's what measurables are.
Okay.
So scorecard is leading indicators. It's keeping track of metrics that will let you know an anticipated outcome.
Yes.
So something, it's telling you ahead of time, hey, this is happening, so this next thing's definitely going to happen, so fix it.
Right.
Yeah.
You have X amount of time to fix the end result.
Correct.
That's inevitably coming in a certain amount of time.
So some high-level ones that we look at would be how many lots do we have available to build homes on? And that's a leading indicator. Do we have enough lots to sell and settle homes on to meet our goals?
Yeah, it should line up.
Yeah, if we don't have enough lots, that's a leading indicator that there's a problem.
Blinking red light.
We need more lots. Another one is website hits. We have a goal. If we hit that goal, then typically we know what our conversion rate is to make appointments off of website hits. So we want to make sure it's above a certain point so that we get the appointments we need to get the sales we need. So those are leading indicators.
One of the tenants, I just remembered this, and I don't know if, it's outside of this, but one of the skill sets that EOS wants you to acquire is predictability.
That's in this section.
Okay.
Big time.
So the reason the scorecard's so incredibly important, not just having it, but looking at it at specific intervals consistently. Not for us, we don't go a week without knowing what our numbers are on the scorecard.
Right.
So the reason that it's done is so you can end up predicting your results before they happen.
Correct. And if you can't properly predict, then you will never meet your goals.
Right. Then
you can't.
You're just, I can't say that phrase. Anyway. So
then measurables would be lagging indicators. So that's like your financial packet.
Right.
This is how well we performed based on what we predicted. So it's basically your report card after it happens.
And I would think that if a business is struggling to hit goals, they probably emphasize the measurables too much,
right,
and not the scorecard. We don't spend a tremendous amount of time reviewing measurables after the fact. We do, but in terms of the time spent, we spend more time looking at the scorecard
Yes.
and dissecting that
Mm-hmm.
because we know we can influence those numbers in a certain amount of time.
Mm-hmm. What we use the measurables for are showing us if there's something that we need to change going forward that we didn't know about.
Right.
It's
Might go on the scorecard.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Yep. So that's data. And then next is process. And both of those, data and process, are what we're working on heavily this quarter with our company Rocks. So process has been an ongoing effort of documenting what we do,
Yeah.
how we sell and build homes. And that's the whole process piece is making sure that you know how you do it, make sure the philosophy is set, and that everyone understands what the core process is and does it. That's what FBA followed by all means.
Yeah. Consistently. And there's times when you can get away with it, right?
Get away with what?
Not having a fully documented process.
You mean like the past 50 years?
Well, I'm just saying, yeah, you can get away with it at a certain size and a certain structure. And it's kind of like what we talked about last week with the few.
Mm-hmm.
You can get away with it when you have a few people who are high achievers
Mm-hmm.
and, they kind of take on more than a normal person would just because they're really good and efficient at their job. Once you get outside of that, and our business is such that when we talk about our regions, we talk about that in this, like our lens is like a franchise, even though it's not, because we have the same business operating in 3 separate locations. And so when you get to that point, that's why this is so critical for us.
Right now.
Yeah. Because if we go add a 4th region, a 5th region, and so on, we need them to be doing the exact same thing.
And not just by word of mouth.
Not by word of mouth. And you can get through it. Like I said, you can achieve great results for a certain amount of time. Just great people.
Yeah. And I should clarify, we have a lot documented, and we have so many people who have done a tremendous amount of effort to document our processes. But this is getting them all in the same format, make sure that the handoffs are clear between different departments and functions. And so that it's just a more cleanup than starting from scratch, to be honest.
And it's just like everything else in EOS. It's speaking the same language on goals and everything.
Yeah.
If you look at the individual department level, each department is probably highly documented.
Yes.
But it's just their thing.
It's
Once
the
you get to the
crossover
next
and the
thing,
handoff.
So
Yeah. Then we're at the 5th triangle here, traction. So the thought process is if you have the right people in the right seats, you're setting the vision, you're measuring the vision with actual metrics, and you have clarified how each of these things are done. That's where you start to get traction. And the way that you have communication within that traction is with your L10 meetings and goal setting. So the 2 pieces under traction are rocks and meetings. So why don't you talk a little bit about rocks?
Rocks are essentially goals, and EOS is run, their whole slogan is 90 days. You run your business in 90-day increments. So your rocks, aka goals, are set in those 90-day increments. So when you have your quarterly meeting, you're saying for the next 90 days, I want to accomplish this. This specific result in that amount of time. You break it down into, baby steps of what you need to accomplish. Now, why it's so important that you have the second part of it, the meeting pulse, is because even in a small scale, there's more than one person that's affected. And so when you're building your rocks, you need to understand the resources across the company that you need and that it aligns. So you're saying, I want to get this thing done, and it's the most important thing to me and my department. However, you might need 3 different departments to accomplish that. And if everybody at the table needed those 3 other departments, they're like, well, I can't even do any rocks. I'm helping all you guys.
Right.
So that's why sometimes we kind of have unbalanced rocks. Sometimes people have one, sometimes people have three. And when I say people at the executive level, it's more like teams.
Yeah.
Our name's just attached to it. So what is our team trying to accomplish?
And each 90 days, we choose company rocks so that when in doubt, whatever you choose for your rock, make sure that it supports the company rock first. And if you can't have anything practical that contributes to the company rock, then just make sure whatever you're doing doesn't take away from resources that can facilitate the company rock.
Right.
So the whole idea is if every single person in the company, 180 whatever people, have one thing that they're going to accomplish, all aligned in the exact same
rhythm.
Yeah, and hopefully result.
Yeah.
Then that's 180 things that get done in 90 days that contributed to that end goal. So that's so impactful if you think about the momentum traction that you can get from staying on top of these rocks.
And I always think of it, like I said, I look at the 10-year vision and we determine where we're at on that journey to 10 years. And we say these 90 days, in order to get to that, I mean, inherently that's what we're saying. We're saying for these 90 days, in order to get to that goal, and it's 1, 3, and 10, but 10-year goal, we need to accomplish this.
In 90 days. And just stick to it and get it done.
And it's never just like, we need to hit our numbers. You know what I mean? It's a derivative. That's always a derivative of a rock, but generally it's more looking at the long term instead of just saying, we need to hit our settlement number for the first quarter. Go get them, team.
Yeah.
And you're just like, that's our job. Okay.
Well, and that's how you need to think about rocks. Rocks are how you spend 20% of your time. 70% of your time is your job. You just do your job 70% of the time. 20% of the time is getting ahead and doing specific projects to meet long-range goals. And then 10% is stuff happens.
Yeah.
Emergencies and whatever.
Yeah.
So that's the thought process of how much time and effort you should be putting towards those projects and rocks.
Yeah.
And then the meeting part of traction is your weekly L10 meetings. And there's a set agenda that every single department team has. It's exactly the same. You go over your rocks, you go over your scorecard, you go over updates, and then that segues into the last piece of the pie, which is issues. So there should be a portion of every team meeting that you have, L10 meeting that you have, where you solve a problem and move on in life. That's the thing that I like the most about the L10 meetings and the issues list. You know what it's like when you just keep revisiting the same thing over and over. This is a dedicated time for you to figure it out.
Right.
Get through the problem, have the complete solve, and move on. Now, sometimes the solve is setting up a meeting with other people who aren't there.
Correct.
Sometimes the solve is we need to figure out what the real question that we should be asking is.
Well, IDS, I mean that, and we can lay that out.
Go ahead.
IDS, that's a term thrown out a lot. That means if we open a meeting and we kind of start diving into something and asking each other questions and it's not appropriate, like the scorecard time, it's there's something about this that needs a further discussion. I need a question answered. We need to discuss this. So IDS, then you put it up on the whiteboard for the time at the end. Identify, so we've done a good job recently of spending time identifying the issue instead of just writing up there like we need to talk about
land.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a very general thing. It's, if the lot tracker is off, it's not showing the appropriate amount of lots. Why is the lot tracker so low? or
Yes.
something like that. Something very specific. And then you discuss
Mm-hmm.
and you have to get to a solve, not just like, we need to talk about this more.
Yeah, you don't leave it open-ended. You fix it.
Mm-hmm. And the fix, like you said, sometimes it is just an additional meeting because
Mm-hmm.
we don't always have the right resources at the table
Mm-hmm.
to discuss something
Yeah.
and
Or
solve for it.
a solve is a to-do for
Mm-hmm.
someone else to say, okay, go get this information and bring it back for the next discussion.
And it stays on the IDS list
Mm-hmm.
for another week or longer.
Yeah. The issues list. So that's just a very high level. Those are all the terms that we generally throw out there. And again, there's going to be a lot of questions, a lot more discussion about this over time. And if you have questions, please ask me.
Yeah. What's your favorite part about it?
I think my favorite part of EOS is the clarity. There's no question marks on when I'm going to find something out, when I'm going to be able to touch base with people. I just know when I can bring something up.
Yeah.
It might be an IDS. It might be a cascading message that's part of the L10 meetings. It might be it's just clarity for me because it gives you all of the answers that you need.
You're never going to get more than 6 days away from connecting with your peers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's given me every tool that I need to communicate with my team, communicate what we're doing, what we're going to get done, and how well we're doing. Like, it just really made it obvious how I need to impact performance in any way.
Yeah.
And this is the thing that we haven't really talked a lot about because we've been so high level, but there's a whole toolkit, a toolbox that goes through and just gives a one-sheeter if you're stuck on something.
Yeah.
If you need help with delegating, if you need help, like the people analyzer, I mentioned that, but basically just a check-in. Is this person capable of doing this job? Let's run through the exercise. I guess I can't. You asked me what my favorite is. I really appreciate pretty much everything in the whole program.
Yeah. Would have you said that when you started?
No. It was it took a minute for me to be convinced that this was worth our time, to be honest.
Yeah, not just worth the time, but a necessity, you know?
Yes.
And like I said, it can be basic, it can be simple, but it's a thing. And it's something that we're very committed to. You know, we might not be wearing T-shirts eventually, but you know, this is just how we operate our company, and there's a cadence to it.
Yeah,
and it's I think a helpful tool for employees. They are eventually everybody's going to know what to expect, and it's really cool right now to see the departments that have been introduced to it, and you know, now the regions are doing it.
Yeah.
To see kind of like the light bulbs go on, and now they know what to expect, and there's clarity from leadership and everything. So it's just kind of like a work in progress, but it just gets better every day.
Yeah, and the key is you said work in progress, and it's practicing it. I mean, I still can't write a good rock.
Oh no.
And you know, I've had how many quarters to practice it. It's just I've let go of the idea that I'm going to master every single aspect of this. The best part about it though is that it's improved so much about what I do and what everyone else who's using it does, that it's okay if we're not the best. It doesn't matter. It's just making huge improvements. Great. Okay. And that's all I need.
Yeah, perfection is certainly not required. It's just progress.
Okay, that's EOS in a nutshell.
I like it.
Anything else that you wanted to talk about on EOS or?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I think, like I said, people, I don't know what percentage of the company has been exposed to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the vast majority of the company is actually in the regions.
Mm-hmm.
And so for them,
Yeah.
for them to establish that.
And that's intentional. Again, I don't want anyone to think that anyone is missing out and it's not something that they're ever going to do. There is a time frame of rolling it out, and we are right on track of getting it rolled out through the organization, and we'll be through the entire company by the end of the year. So everybody will be on the same page by the end of the year.
Yeah, and you'll eventually want to trace the line from you to the person representing your department on the executive team and make sure that if I want to ask that guy a question, that he'll be able to answer it really well. So it does take time because I'm learning a lot myself. So in order to teach it, I have to
go through
understand.
It first.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even mention what we're going over today. We're going over EOS, but as always, we have a shout out and a challenge at the end of this episode.
Yeah.
So I have the shout out today. So I would like to shout out Michelle Berry today.
Oh, yeah.
She has so much going on and she gets so much done. And I am just super impressed because yesterday she sent out a completed new design that 2 new communities need to get started.
Right.
And we had a deadline, and she's got a lot of other responsibilities, a lot of obstacles with some of the programs that she has to use. And she got it done.
Right.
And got it sent out, and we'll probably get that. That's fully contributing to our slot schedule, fully contributing to meeting our plan this year, because it's 2 big communities and a lot of settlements that we need this year.
Right. And just for those that don't know Michelle, why she's one of those that could get shouted out every week because of the excellence in the work that she does. Not just the volume, it's the volume and how good it is.
I mean, if we could, Michelle, if you could create a program to teach everyone how to write an email excellence.
She's been using AI for like 30 years, but not really.
Somehow.
That's just her.
Yeah.
But her, for somebody to be at the level of detail that she is, to the point where Dad wants, his goal is to find a mistake from Michelle.
That is, he has repeatedly said that his life's mission is to catch her.
That's the bar. So for those of you that don't know my dad, he is highly detailed, and he will pick out anything anywhere, and he is on a lifelong mission, and he's 70 to find a mistake from Michelle, and it's not like she puts out a little bit of work.
She has beat him every time so far.
Yeah. Great shout out. So my challenge is, this might be more for leaders, but it could be for anybody, not just our organization, but in a big organization. And we love this and we don't like it. As we get bigger, we just don't get the opportunity to dive deep with people.
Yeah.
Or not even dive deep, just connect, right? And there's so many great things going on in the 3 buildings that we have and out on the job sites. My challenge would be, if you see something from afar that's like awesome, some salesperson up in State College, gets 5 sales. I see that Alexis right now. She has got like a bunch of sales, but somebody that you don't interact with on a regular basis, send them an email of something that you saw, because we got a lot of data flying out there. So
I love that. That's a great one. Yeah.
And, just say you noticed. That's my challenge.
Yeah.
And it can be quick, but it's pretty cool. I have a couple people on my radar that I saw recently. I'm like, man, but I never get to talk to them. I never get to see them.
Oh, so let's make it not weird just to send an email to somebody and say, great job. I saw what you did.
Well, it's not weird.
That's what I mean. Like sometimes people might feel uncomfortable or feel like, well, why would they care? People care so much. It would be awesome if we would all do that.
Yeah. I mean, I just think it's great. And I just notice it. I try to do those things on a regular
great job with
basis. But what I'm saying is I might have the thought and it might go away. And I don't get to see that person more than 2 or 3 times a year. I mean, that's the reality that we live in. But there's a lot of people in the organization that have access to great information and they're seeing stuff. And even if you don't know them, shout them out because they're doing great work.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ways we can see how they're doing. So
I love it. I'm going to do that. Thank you.
Boom, boom. All right.
And that concludes the Berks Homes podcast of the week.
Episode. I don't know.
4.
And
4.
We've been asked a couple times to possibly have some guests, and we will. Could be from our building, from other buildings, from a different company.
Yeah.
We're
already bored of each other.
Wow. Yeah. So, yeah.
All right. Have a great week, everybody.
All right. See ya.